Negotiate project agreements. Negotiating project agreements involves reaching mutual understanding and alignment on project objectives, deliverables, timelines, performance metrics, and responsibilities between parties, either internal teams, vendors, clients, or whoever. This process supports the people domain in the PMP exam content outline, ECO, and it is crucial for building commitments and trusts. Let us explain some of the enablers. 1. Analyze the bonds of the negotiation. This is identifying the scope, limitation, constraints that governs the negotiation. This includes the budget, the legal, the organizational policies, and also authority levels. The steps here would be to determine negotiable and non-negotiable items, clarify authority limits, what can be agreed without escalation, review organizational procurements or compliance guidelines. Let's take a look at some of the examples in this. In the traditional environment, for instance, limits are often fixed in the project charter and scope documents. While in the Agile, boundaries may be flexible, agreements can evolve per sprint or backlog priorities. In the hybrid, we may define core terms upfront, leaving room for iterative discussion. Number 2 echo will be to assess priorities and determine ultimate objective. Here we're going to define key drivers. What each party values most. Is it cost? Is it quality? Is it time? Steps here will be to conduct stakeholder analysis, use the priority techniques like the Moscow, the Kano, the 100 points, also to determine must-haves and nice-to-have outcomes. The application here in the traditional will be to focus on fixed schedule, budget, performance trade-offs, while in the Agile is the product owner helps rank backlogs items by business value. And then in the hybrid, we can use the Moscow for both fixed and evolving elements. Number 3 is to verify objectives of the agreements are met. This is to ensure that agreements align with and support the original goals of the project. The steps here are to review finalized agreement documents like the SLAs, the SOWs, the contracts, also to align them with business case requirements and also success criteria, and also to confirm stakeholder sign-offs. Let's see how it applies in the different development approach. The traditional, validate against project scope baselines and performance KPIs. In the Agile, we use the definition of DON, DOD, and acceptance criteria for backlog items. And in the hybrid, we use combination of the DOD for Agile components and then the KPIs for the fixed ones. Let's take a look at the fourth, which is to participate in agreement negotiation. This is actually to engage in the actual negotiation discussion to align terms and expectations. The steps here are to use expert judgment, also leverage negotiation skills such as active listening, the BATNA, the win-win thinking, and then also to document key decisions and approvals. Let's take a look at this both in the traditional, in the Agile, and also hybrid. In the traditional, the PM often assists procurement or legal in suppliers negotiation, and in the Agile, teams may negotiate sprint backlogs or goals items readily. And then in the hybrid, the PMs mediates between the Agile and the traditional contract terms. Number 5, determine a negotiation strategy. We want to choose the right approach to reach agreements, collaborative, competitive, or compromise. The strategies here is integrative, which is a win-win. We need to seek mutual agreement or gain. And then we have the distributive, which is a win-lose, fixed by claim more value. And then we have the BATNA, which is best alternative to a negotiated item or agreement. The application here in the traditional is often distributive, which is price or deadline. In the Agile, we have the integrative, adjusting scope for value delivery, and then in the hybrid is a mix of both. It's project negotiation. This is a structured dialogue aimed at reaching mutual agreement on various project elements before finalizing commitments. This would include the deliverables, the responsibilities, the timeline, the performance expectation, also financial obligation, quality standards, and also legal terms. Agreements are especially important in external procurement where third parties are involved, like the vendors, the contractors, the service providers. Only negotiated agreement leads to misaligned expectations, scope creep, dispute, and project failure. Effective negotiation ensures clarity, accountability, and also commitment. Let's take a look at some of the elements of a negotiated agreement. One of it is the statement of work, SOW. It defines the work scope, deliverables, and boundaries. Another, schedule with milestones. It aligns timelines and critical dates. Performance reporting expectation. It helps to clarify how progress will be measured. Pricing and payment terms outlines costs, payment methods, and schedule. Quality and acceptance criteria. It also sets expectation standards and requirements for acceptance. Incentives or penalty. It motivates high performance and defines consequences for non-compliance. Insurance and bonds. It protects stakeholders from financial risk. Subcontractors' approval ensures transparency about third-party engagement. Terms and condition. Governs legal relationship. Change management defines how scope or requirement changes will be handled. Termination and dispute resolution clauses. It prepares for early exit or conflict handling. Take a look at some of the tools and techniques used in negotiation. Number 1, service level agreement, SLAs. These are post-delivery performance contract. It covers aspects like uptime, availability, response time, security. It should align with business-driven metrics. Number 2, prioritization techniques. Helps align what matters most to stakeholders. For instance, the Kalo method, basic performance and excitement features. The MOSCO, which is must have, should have, could have, won't have. We have also the 100-point method. Stakeholders align points to feature by priorities. Number 3, performance reports. Performance report is a formal document or communication used to track, assess, and communicate the status and the health of the project based on key performance indicators, KPIs. It is based on actual project data, that is work performance data, and it is transformed into actionable information that can drive decision, identify issues, and also inform stakeholders. In the context of negotiation, this report helps all parties agree in advance on what will be measured, how it will be measured, how frequent it will be reported, and what threshold triggers actions. Key performance metrics typically includes number 1, percentage of work performed, which indicates progress towards completing the overall project or individual deliverables, often measured via the earned value management, EVM, in traditional projects. But in Agile, this could be based on user stories completed in the sprint. Number 2, quality and technical performance metrics. It checks whether deliverables meet defined technical and quality standards, may include error rates, test pass or fail rates, performance benchmarks. And number 3, of finish of scheduled activities. Track task duration versus planned schedule. That is, schedule variance, useful in identifying delays or opportunities to compress the schedule. Change request. Number and nature of change request raised, approved, or rejected. It shows project flexibility or instability. A rise in change request might signal poor initial scoping. Defect. The number and severity of defects found during testing or quality assurance. It helps assess product or service quality. And then number 6, actual cost and duration. Compare plan versus actual cost and time spent. Key inputs for EMV calculations like cost performance indicators, CPIs, and schedule performance indicators. Let's take a look at work performance data versus the reports. Work performance data is the raw facts, figures from activities. For example, a task A completed in 6 days, 4 defects found, $12,000 spent. While the work performance report is analyzed and conceptualized data used for decision making. For instance, costs overrun of about 10%, 3 days delay due to resource unavailability, sprint 2 velocity reduced by 20%. Reports should generate decisions as, for example, approve change, trigger risk mitigation, or raise issues like cost overruns, missed milestones, or prompt actions or awareness like escalate delays to sponsors. How performance reporting differs from your project methodology. For instance, in the traditional, which is also called a waterfall, reports are often scheduled weekly or monthly, uses tools like your Gantt chart, your end value charts, or your milestone trackers. Fixed baselines mean baseline is tracked against original plans. For instance, the EV is equals $20,000, the actual cost equals $25,000, CPI is actually 0.8, which is cost overrun, and SV is minus 5 days, which is behind schedule. In an agile environment, reporting is real-time or sprint-based. It uses burn-down charts, cumulative flow diagrams, and also backlog progress. It focuses on story points, velocity, and accepted user story. For example, metrics would look like 8 of 10 user story accepted, that's 80% completion. Velocity is equals to 25 story points or sprints, 2 defects in the last sprint, and 100% tests pass rate. In a hybrid, it combines structured reporting for fixed scope elements. For instance, infrastructure, it uses agile metrics for iterative parts, that is, for the software components of it. For instance, infrastructure is 65 or 60% complete on time, and software team velocity is equals to 30% or 30 points, that is sprint, or backlog burn rate is equals 2 sprints ahead of our schedule. Performance report in a negotiation context would be performance reporting expectations agreed upon upfront during negotiation to prevent dispute. You never deliver on time. Let's check the report. You set accountability benchmark. Late payment triggers if milestones not met, or align communication, which is weekly dashboard will be sent every Friday. For instance, a contractor would provide a bi-weekly performance report showing percentage complete and key issues, change requests, and earned value metrics. Missed milestones might include justification and recovery plan. Expert judgment uses domain expert to evaluate proposed terms, validate timelines and budget estimates, also support technical feasibility analysis. Negotiation strategy. You could use collaborative, which is integrative, win-win mindset, or distributive, which is a competitive or a positional bargaining, or compromise, which is middle ground settlement, or even a partner, which is best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Number 6, resource calendars, which clarifies availability of key resources like your people, the tools, the materials to match against deliverable timelines. And then number 7, lesson learned. Lesson learned are documented insights and knowledge gained during a project. What went well, what didn't go well, and what could be improved. The goal is to apply these insights to enhance performance on current or future projects. The purpose of lesson learned is knowledge retention, avoid reinventing the wheel, process improvement, identify bottlenecks, inefficiency, or success factors, and then risk management, learn from past mistakes to proactively mitigate future risk, and also team development, which is foster transparency, accountability, and the future of growth. PMI's principle is lesson learned supports continuous improvement, part of the PMI's triangle and the PMP exam content outline. Lesson learned register. This is a formal project document where lessons are captured. It typically has fields like what happened, that's description of the situation or event, what worked or didn't work, the outcomes and the impact, root cause, why it happened, corrective actions, what was done or should have been done to resolve, recommendation, suggestion for future project, and then owner, the person or team responsible for documenting it. This document is updated throughout the project, not just at the end. It contributes to the organizational process assets for future use. The timing of lesson learned usually in the initiating to capture historical data to inform planning, in the executing, log emerging insights, that's midway project, and then in closing, conduct formal lesson learned sections or retrospective. The benefits to the organization is to promote the organizational learning, reduce repeat mistakes, improve delivery time, cost, and also quality, and build a knowledge base across the project and also across the team. Lesson learned in different approaches would be like traditional project management environment, a lesson learned meeting, also called a post-implementation review or post-mortem, is conducted at the end of the project, often facilitated by the PMO, that's the project management office, or the project manager. The lessons are compiled into a report and added to the lesson learned repository. The strength, structured, formalized, documented, input from all stakeholders captured in one section. The challenge is that If done only at the end, opportunities to apply improvement during the project is lost. Participants may forget specific details. In an agile environment, lesson learned are embedded in the retrospective ceremony, which occurs at the end of every sprint or iteration, typically every 1 to 4 weeks. Teams inspect and adopt continuously. What does this retrospective questions include? What went well? What didn't go well? What should we start doing? What should we stop doing? What can we improve in the next sprint? The benefits: quick feedback loop. Improvements are applied immediately, encourages team empowerment and also growth. For instance, in a Scrum team, it finds that story has often carried over to the next sprint. Root cause, poor sizing, solution, adapt planning poker into tighter definitions of story points. In a hybrid, how is this done? The agile team conducts regular retrospective, iteration-based. Waterfall component uses milestone reviews, and at the end of the project lesson learned workshop, lessons are captured both incrementally and formally. The strength of this is flexible learning cycles from the agile and comprehensive documentation from the traditional. So what are some of the steps to conduct a lesson learned section in the traditional or hybrid? Number 1, prepare. Send a meeting invite early. Share the project summary and the performance metrics in advance. Number 2, facilitate this meeting. Assign a neutral facilitator. Use guided questions. What worked? What didn't? What surprised us? Number 3, gather input. Encourage open decision and discussion. Allow anonymous feedback if needed. Document the lessons. Use a standardized lesson learned register. Include actionable recommendation. Distribute and archive. Share with teams and stakeholders. Submit to PMO or a central repository. Number 6, follow through. Ensure improvements are adopted in future projects. Update internal process guidelines and templates. Let's take a look at the examples in traditional construction projects. Issue: delay in approval permits. Lessons: engage regulatory authority earlier in the planning process. Recommendation: add a stakeholder engagement activity in future project schedule. Agile examples: that's software development. Issue: user stories often incomplete at sprint end. Lessons: definition of ready was unclear. And then action: team defines clearly entry criteria for backlog items before pulling into sprint. And then hybrid, which is in healthcare, for instance. Sprint retrospective reveals a need to improve collaboration with testers. In the waterfall, post-go live reviews identify that stakeholder training should be done or should start early. Some of the key takeaways here are: lesson learned, insight from project experiences, either success and also failure. Register, structured documentation for capturing lessons. Timing, capturing during and at the end of the project or sprint. Benefits, continuous improvement, knowledge transfer, risk reduction. And in traditional, capture at the end, formal process. Now, another concept we need to also understand is in the agile. In the agile, capture in every retrospective, quick feedback, and in the hybrid, use both ongoing and at the end of the project mechanism. So close out on this, we can improve future negotiation by documenting what worked, what didn't, unexpected issues, and also solutions.